Good morning, MSM. Happy Sunday. We are so glad you are here on YouTube Live joining us for this service. Today is special. It is May 9th, but it's not just May 9th. We're celebrating something super special. It's Mother's Day. And we just wanted you to put in the chat something that you love or you're thankful for about your mom or about someone in your life who is like a mom to you. And our challenge, if you haven't already today, is whatever you're putting in the chat right now, take a moment to encourage and celebrate your mom or someone who's like a mom to you by sharing that with them today. Let them feel honored and celebrated on Mother's Day. You know, for me, I'm personally so thankful that my mom has been there for me. She's been there for me in really hard moments and also in joyful moments, either just to talk things out or to listen, or just physical presence can mean so much sometimes. Take a moment to think about, some of the favorite things that you get to do together or some of the favorite things about your mom that you can celebrate this weekend. Speaking of fun things, we've got a couple fun things coming up this month that we want to make sure you don't miss. We want to make sure you have all the information you need so that you can be a part of it. The first thing that we have coming up is life groups. We're so excited to get to spend time with you guys this past Tuesday, celebrating May the 4th, Star Wars Day, as well as diving into week 1 of our series, Habits. And we're excited to do that again this coming Tuesday, 7:15 p.m., both online and in person. And if you want to sign up for in-person life groups and you haven't been there yet, check out the link below, register, we'll see you either in person or online, whatever you are most comfortable with. Our hope is that you get to experience community with each other, that you get to have fun, and that you get to process all the things that we're getting to learn together here on Sunday mornings. The second thing that we have related to life groups is the Party in the Park, which is May 25th. We're going to be celebrating, even though it's sad, celebrating our last official life groups of the year, and that'll be from 6 to 7 at Catamaran Park. 6 to 7, May 25th. It's going to be a blast. We're going to celebrate everything that we've been able to do this year together, everything that God has done, and we're just going to have some low contact or no contact outdoor games and activities and just some fun getting to look back on this past year and get ready for summer. And speaking of summer, we have got summer camp coming up. It's going to be a blast. And if you've been to Rock and Water, you know just how fun it is. With canyoneering, the camping outside, white water rafting, all the group activities, small group discussion time, worship outdoors. It is a load of fun. And if this is your first time going to camp or your first time hearing about any of those things that I've mentioned, you're likely not alone in that. And this is the perfect time to try some of those things. And I've never actually been to Rock and Water myself, but so many of our leaders have, and I've heard so many stories, even from you guys, about how much fun it has been. So for those of you who are going for the first time, I cannot wait to experience some firsts with you all as we get to just be out in nature for consecutive days, just having fun, worshiping God, celebrating what He's done, disconnecting from technology, from homework, from tutoring, from everything, and just getting to spend time outdoors with the Lord, learning about Him in community, having fun. It is going to be really, really fun. My favorite thing about camps is that, we get to disconnect and we get to connect with each other. We get to be with God outdoors, under the stars, under the trees, in the water. There's a range of activities, a range of things that we get to do. The free time is the best, and it's fun to just be all together doing the same things, and enjoying both structured and free time outdoors in nature. So we want to highly recommend that you sign up, that you register sooner than later. Sign up today, even talk to your parents about camp right after you get off of service today, and get signed up, get registered. We're going to be going from July 23rd to the 26th, and it will be an absolute blast. So let us know in the chat if you have been to Rock and Water before. What is your favorite thing about it? And if you haven't been and you're excited to go to camp this year or in the future, what are you most excited for about camp? What is your favorite thing about camp? And as you answer that, we're going to get ready to go into week 2 of our series Habits. Sam is going to bring us the word, and we're so excited. So grab your Bibles, grab your snacks, and get ready for week 2 of Habits.
Well, hey, MSM, it is great to see you, and this is week 2 of our series called Habits. And today we're going to talk about a subject that I'm really passionate about, and it's how do we know God? How do we know God? Because lots of times I think we overcomplicate it, right? But before we jump into our time today, I want to ask you a question, and it's this. Who is the person that you think you know the most? Not the most about, but who is the person that you think you know the most? Maybe it's mom, maybe it's dad, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a uncle or an aunt or a best friend at school. But let us know down in the chat below, who is that person that you think you know the most about? Obviously for me, it's going to be my wife, Bree, right? We're with each other almost constantly. We get to hang out all the time. So therefore, I know when she sees a golden retriever, no matter how far away that golden retriever is, she is about to freak out because she loves golden retrievers. They're like her all-time favorite dog. She had a golden retriever for many, many years. His name was Baxter. And if you ever want to hear like endless stories about a golden retriever named Baxter, just ask my wife. She'll talk for hours about her love and affection for her Baxter. But yeah, so who is the person that you know the most? Like I said before, I think most of the time we overcomplicate our relationship with God. We think that we can't get to know him, or that somehow knowing him is like knowing someone's Instagram bio, right? Like it's as shallow as that when you're scrolling through and you see an Instagram bio and you're like, oh, that must be what they are into. They like The Office, and they really enjoy coffee, and it looks like they enjoy the beach. That must be who that person is. And it's like, no, that's just what they want you to know about them, right? That's just what they want you to know about them. That's not actually knowing the person. So sometimes we think of our relationship with God like that. And today, what I really want to communicate to y'all is that we can know about God, and that's awesome. But there's something deeper that we can go to, which is actually having a relationship with God. One that's deep and personal, and where we could talk to him and he answers back. It's awesome, and I want to walk through some ways that we can actually do that as a student ministry, but then personally as well. But like I said before, sometimes I think we overcomplicate it, right? Because we overthink our interactions. How many overthinkers do we have right now in the chat? Go ahead, type overthinking if you are an overthinker like me. Lots of times, my wife and I will walk away from an interaction together. We just talked to somebody at the store, or we were at church talking to a couple or something like that. And I walk away and I look at my wife and I say, Bree, did I make any sense at all? She's like, yeah. I was like, no, I feel like when I said that, I don't know, maybe they thought I was saying something different. Do you think I said something that was silly? Do you think they understand what I said? Do you think oh my gosh, what did they even mean when they said X, Y, Z? And she looks at me in the most kind way possible and tells me, take a breath. You're overthinking this. You're overthinking this. So collectively, today, what I want to tell us is that sometimes we overthink our relationship with God. And here to provide some clarity around the subject of how we can actually know God, not just know about God, but know God, is Jesus. He's the source. So, Son of God, I feel like that'd be a good person to ask how we get to know God. So we're going to look at a scripture in John chapter 15, verses 1 through 3, and then we're going to do some work in 5 through 8 as well. So let's take a look here and see if we can answer the question, how do we know God? It says this: live in me. Make your home in me just as I do in you. This is Jesus' words to us. Live in me, make your home in me just as I do in you. This is not Instagram bio language. This is not here, click the link in the bio like we say all the time, right? This is not watch my masterclass or subscribe and share language. This is not, how should I put this? Like, hey, follow me back, right? This is deeply personal. This is close language. This is family language. Make my home. That's a big time personal relationship. So Jesus says, make your home in me just as I do in you. God is not nameless. He's not faceless, shapeless, spiritual celebrity icon. He's personal, and he wants a relationship with you. It says, in the same way that a branch can't bear grapes by itself, but only by being joined to the vine. You can't bear fruit unless you are joined with me. Now, this is kind of getting at the point that, hey, in order to achieve the things we want to achieve, in order to live the life that God wants us to live, we have to be connected to that vine. We have to be connected to the source. That's very clear. That's very upfront, right? This is basic relationship 101 stuff. Hey, if you want to know somebody, you got to hang out with them. You can know about somebody, but the only way to know somebody is to actually spend time with that person. Verses 5 through 8 say this. Jesus is speaking of himself. He says, I am the vine. You are the branches. Say it with me. You are the branches. I'm the branches. You are the branches. You and I. That's me. That's you. We're the branches. When you're joined with me and I with you, the relationship, I love this word, is organic. It's organic. He says the harvest, in other words, what we get out of it, what God gets out of it, is sure to be abundant. In other words, it's going to be apparent. We're going to see it. It's not going to be like, oh, I wonder if I know God. We're going to be able to see, I know God. Separate, you can't produce a thing. I love how that kind of ends kind of gloomy. It's like, hey, there's going to be this abundant harvest, and without me, you can't do nothing, right? But here's the word that I really would like us to focus into. It says, when you're joined with me and I with you, the relationship is organic. It's organic. It's natural. It's easy. It's simple. It's fun. And that's exactly how I thought of my relationship with Bree when we first started dating. It was really organic. It was really natural. It wasn't super awkward, like, oh, I don't know what to talk to her about, or we have like conflicting opinions on a bunch of like really major core issues. It was just really simple. And that's exactly what I had prayed for. I was like, God, make it obvious, because I'm not that smart all the time when it comes to relationships. Make it really obvious. And God, I would ask you to make it really, really organic, really simple to get to know whoever my wife is going to be. And then he brought Bree into my life and me into Bree's life, I guess. And we just talked all the time, nonstop. And it was really, really organic. That's exactly the way it's supposed to be with God. We're supposed to be at our most open with God. We're supposed to be at our most vulnerable with God. The relationship is supposed to be organic, natural. We don't need to complicate it with a bunch of formulaic prayers about like, oh, I've got to say these words so God does this, and I've got to make sure that I spend enough time in the Bible so that Jesus loves me and he'll answer my prayers. No. What God is saying is, hang out with me. That's exactly what Jesus is saying here. He's saying, if you want to get to know God, if you really want to, hang out with him. He's available. He's not making himself distant. You don't have to sign up and pay money. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to get 1,000 likes. You don't have to get the #1 fan thing. You don't have to get like a certain amount of time with him before you level up and get, unlock special prayer requests or something like that. Like, God's available and he wants a relationship with you. Now, lots of times I love to tell stories about how I mess things up. And about how I fail in life, because I think y'all need that. I think y'all need to know that pastors, preachers, teachers, they're not icons. They're not gods, right? They're not the spiritual elite, right? You can learn a lot from my mistakes. But today, I'm going to tell you about a story when I actually did something right. Now, I got to spend 6 months with my uncle when I was 16. And over the course of those 6 months, I really wanted to get to know him because he was one of my heroes. He was one of the people in my life that I looked up to. Right now in the chat, tell me someone that you look up to. Stop. Pause. Okay, now that I've got everybody's attention, tell me someone that you look up to. For me, when I was 16, I looked up to my Uncle David. I still do. He's went on to have a lot of career success, and he's raised a great family. So that's why I look up to him. He loves Jesus with all of his heart, and he loves his family. Now, when I was 16, I got to spend 6 months with him, and I wanted to really get to know him. So in order to do that, I asked him questions, right? Similar to the way we would ask God questions. The same manner, same kind of idea, and the same kind of focus. So I just asked him a ton of questions about everything from movies to music to how you should ask someone out on a date to how to drive a car to what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And that's exactly the question that I want to focus in on here today. My uncle and I were on our way to my Aunt Bonnie's house for Thanksgiving dinner. And one of the questions that I had for my uncle was this. How do I know what I want to do with the rest of my life? How do I know what I want to do with the rest of my life? Big question, right? And his answer to me was this. He said, when you don't want to go home. When you're doing it and you don't want to go home, that's how you know you're doing the right thing. Now, he was obviously talking about a career, and I tend to agree with him about that. That's why I love hanging out and being the MSM director. I love it so much. It's hard to go home sometimes. So that was his advice. But I asked him, I was like, okay, at the time I didn't understand it. So I was like, what do you mean? And he went on to tell me about a story when he was a young man. He was around, I want to say 18, 19, 20 years old. And during that time in his life, he lived at home. And his parents did not want him to go to college. For whatever reason, they didn't want him to go. But he still really wanted to go to college. He didn't have the money to go to college, so it was like pulling teeth just to get onto the campus. Back then, there weren't online classes. There wasn't online distance learning like we have now. You actually had to go to the college campus, pay a lot of money for a dorm room, pay a ton of money for books and classes and all sorts of stuff like that. So it was a big financial investment, and it was a huge risk for him. Now, when he was there, like I said, he had no money. He went anyway, and he developed an eye condition that was pretty serious, that actually blurred his vision and caused him to start to go blind. It was called keratoconus. And he was freaking out when he was there, rightfully so, because all of a sudden he started to develop that eye condition. And what happened is he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you're going to need a cornea transplant in both of your eyes. Cornea transplant in both your eyes. And obviously he was kind of shocked by this and pretty scared. And he said what he did was he went and he had the surgery, and he thought it would get better, but it actually got worse. His eyes actually rejected both transplants, and he went blind for a short period of time. For about a couple months, he went blind. And he had to be led around by other classmates to and from class. So he would wake up in the morning, someone would have to walk him out down to class. They would have to sit him down in the chair, and he would listen to what the teacher was saying, and he would try his best to take notes, and then he would go back up to his dorm, and he would study. And I asked him, I was like, how did you find the strength to do that? Like, why didn't you just go home? That's a lot. Like, you could have easily thrown in the towel and went, hey, I tried, but this is way too hard. And he looked at me on Thanksgiving Day as we were driving to get turkey. He looked at me and he said, I wasn't going home. I wasn't going home. Failure wasn't an option for me. He said, I didn't know if I was going to be blind forever. And he said, in my mind, if I was going to be blind forever, I better learn how to deal with it. Now that is his way of dealing with that. That's wild to me. And that's one of the reasons that I look up to my uncle. He's just so strong. But I don't tell you that just to brag on my uncle. I don't tell you that as a manuscript way to get through a tragedy. I tell you that because in that moment, I felt like I knew my uncle more than anyone in the whole entire world. I felt like I was so close and personal with my uncle. The man nobody could touch how close and how personal we were. No one could come close to how much I knew about my uncle and how much I knew my uncle. And it felt awesome. It felt like he let me in on these secrets. And eventually he went on, like I said before, have a lot of career success. He sees well now. He actually went back and got surgery on his eyes and was only blind for a couple months. Although it was a tragic event, thankfully he got through it. He went on to have an amazing family and that I love very, very dearly. But yeah, so that's the story about my uncle. I don't tell it as a diagram to how to get through a tragedy, but I tell it to you because I felt like I knew my uncle. And it's why? Why? It's not because I subscribed to his Instagram page or his Twitter. It's not because I watched the Netflix documentary on his life. There's not one, but I think there should be. It's not because I interviewed him. It's not because I watched a 3-minute YouTube clip. It's literally because I spent time with him. I went to the source, right? I asked questions, and then I listened with an open mind. That's exactly the formula that we need to follow when getting to know God. That's exactly the formula that Jesus would tell us to do. He said, I'm the vine, you're the branches. You got to stay connected to me in order to get to know me. So the simple answer to how do we know God? Spend time with him. It's that simple. I would love to say that it's more complex. You got to do X, Y, Z. There's 10,000 things that you need to do. There's 18 levels that you can walk through in order to get to know God. The good news is he wants a relationship with you, and it's really simple to get to know him. It's so simple. If we go to the source, we ask questions and we listen. But there are some practical ways that we can do this, right? What does going to the source looks like? What does going to the source actually feel like, look like? Well, it looks like reading your Bible, right? That's why we do the YouVersion Bible reading plans with habits right now. And you're in a series in that YouVersion plan where we're getting to read the Bible every day and make comments on it. That's awesome. Keep it up. You're doing a great job. Now, what does asking questions look like to God? Well, it can look like a couple different things. It can be prayer. God, what do you want me to do about this teacher that I'm having tension with? God, what do you want me to do with my mom and dad because we're not getting along? God, what do you want me to do with my brother or my sister because I really would like a relationship with them on down the lane in life and it feels like we're just always fighting? God, what do you want me to do about this friend at school? I feel like they're really down and I want to help them. It looks like going to the source, asking, reading, asking questions to God through prayer. You can do research on that too. He wrote a whole book and it's for you and it's for me. It's great. Then it looks like listening with an open mind. Because sometimes God tells us stuff and we're like, oh, but that requires actual work. It's like, oh, we need to be nice to our brother or our sister. Oh, we need to go apologize to mom or dad. Oh, we should try and get our homework in early to show the teacher that we honestly do care about their class. Might require a little bit of work, and it's always going to require us to listen. That's how I got to know my uncle, right? That's how you've gotten to know all of your great best friends. You went to the source. You didn't listen to what other people said about them as much as what they said to you. You asked questions to them, right? What are your favorite colors? What are your favorite dogs? What are your favorite memes? You got to know them. You spent time with them. And you listened with an open mind. That's exactly the relationship model that we're going to follow when it comes to God. So that's why we've created that YouVersion plan. That's why we have life groups on Tuesday night. And I am so passionate about this, that God is not a nameless, faceless, spiritual icon to just be thought of as far away and distant, but he is close and personal, wants a relationship with you, and wants to get to know you more and him, or you to know him more as well. Not just to know about him, but to have an organic, natural relationship with him. We can talk to him. We can ask him questions. So here's our homework assignment, right? Because y'all are great with homework. That you would write down a question right now that you have for God. Whether that's, what do I do about my teacher? They're driving me absolutely out of my mind. What do I do about my brother or sister? I feel like I can't stand them right now. Or maybe it's something like, what about dinosaurs? Where did they go? How did they come into being? Like, what's going on? that you would write down a question that you have and that you would bring it to your leaders on life group night. We're going to have life groups this Tuesday, and I would love to be able to answer some of your questions. And so would your life group leaders. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the source. We're going to read our Bibles in our YouVersion app, and we're going to actually dig into the asking questions portion of it. Write down your question, bring it to life group, type one in the chat right now, and then we are going to listen with an open mind. And from there, we're going to understand that we don't just have to know about God, but we actually get to know God and develop our relationship with him. I can't wait to work on this with you. Life groups are Tuesday nights at 7:15 online and 7 o'clock at our Foster City campus in the MPR on Tuesday nights. I will see you there. Peace.
I want to sing this morning to a God who chases us down no matter what. There's nowhere we can run and hide from him. It's a great God. Let's sing it. You give life.
You give life. You are love. You bring a light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only.
You give life. You give love. Sing it out.
You give a life, you are love, you bring a light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord.
Sing this to him. It's your breath.
It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you.
It's your breath.
It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, God.
Church, before we go from this place, let's declare this, that all the earth will shout his praise. Our hearts will cry and our bones will sing, great is the Lord. If you believe it, sing it out. All the earth.
All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord.
Come on, every voice. Young and old. All the earth.
And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord.
And all the earth will shout his praise.
All the earth will shout his praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's our hope that this resource has helped you come to know and love Jesus, because our mission here at CPC is to make and mature more followers of Christ. If any part of today's service has blessed you, I would encourage you then to share it with a friend that you think needs it. Now, we know life is way too complex to live alone. That's why we do life groups every single Tuesday night. If you would like more information about how you can get involved with life groups, you can leave a comment or send us a direct message. But if you would be so bold as to join us on Tuesday nights for life groups, I promise you'll make lifelong friends that will not only push you to be the best that you can possibly be, but will also help you strengthen or discover your faith in Jesus. Remember, God didn't intend for you to do life alone, because we're way, way better together. I'll see you there.